even though you might know how to do something, you get on a bike for the first time in 20 years, you might know how to ride the bike, but the bike still feels like, I guarantee you, if I got on a bike today, I would have a little bit of a wobble because I haven't done it in so many years, where that goes hand in hand with sales and lead generation, where people think that there's going to be this magic pill that they're going to take and all of a sudden they're going to have abs, when it's like, that's just not realistic in fitness and it's not realistic in business. So the identity piece is so important into this concept of like mindset of like, we end up projecting the way that we feel. Struggling in your business right now, it's often a projection of how you're feeling. I get it. It's hard. It's hard to feel abundant when you're not living in abundance. And it's like everything starts with that feeling. Everything starts with that emotion. You get what you feel. You are listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, stories, help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined by Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. This is another episode. This is a single episode where Vic and I are going to jam about a lead and conversion challenge we did this week with a bunch of real estate agents from all across North America. 5 days, 5-day lead conversion challenge. My man, what were some of your highlights?
I love the insights of, so a couple of people in the challenge I've chatted with in the past, and they were like, oh no, we're good. We've been doing this for 20 years. The standard line is, for somebody who it's rare that people say how long they've been in the industry when they're super successful. They're like, like they just talk about what they're doing. But when people aren't super successful, sometimes they fall back to their time in the industry. Like that's something, that they're proud of, but it's like they're holding on to that last little thread of something. And it was cool to see a lot of faces that I've spoken to in the past, or they've reached out, they've asked questions, show up to the event. And I mean, you could just see them writing and taking notes and asking questions in the private messages, because what got you here is probably not what's going to get you to where you want to go. Right now, there's certain things that you should probably keep in your schedule and certain activities that you should probably keep in your life. But a lot of the thinking, right? Like we all cap out at our thinking. Like we all have an income cap with what we were born with and our environments at home. And I don't say that your income cap is based off of your IQ. It's based off of your environmental learning. And maybe it's based off of like that. So it's really cool to see a lot of people taking really good notes. And, there's a lot of agents struggling that have been in the business for 30 days, 2 years, and 20 years. And there's a lot of agents crushing it. And we have both on the program, and they were all like super, super, super grateful for that. And I know you dropped a lot of nugs on marketing, free and paid. Like what were some of the things that you enjoyed about it?
It was really cool to see people like kind of show up, and especially on the 5th day, there were some agents saying, hey, I did what you said to do on the first day. I did deal the week. I started adding people to Facebook. I started connecting with people, started having conversations. And I think like I loved it, how we framed the entire week, because of the fact that it's like, none of this is like, this isn't a diet pill. Like this isn't something that you like, not only do we say this is not a diet pill, it's going to take time, skill, and volume. It's also, for me, the reality that there are a bunch of things that you can do in your business in order to get the results you're looking for. And maybe it's an additional thing. Like if you don't have money, it's probably not online leads. Maybe it's, getting really consistent with your social media posting, or getting really consistent with that hour a day of cold calling or door knocking, and I think like even we did a podcast today where we talked about like consistent, persistent action. And it's that consistent, persistent action and that tweaking and that refining that really allows us to hit the targets that we're looking to hit. Like even you and I were chatting about the scripting, about really owning your script. And this is something that even internally we're going through, where we flipped to a free trial. We're still doing the free trial, but we're going back to doing more business development calls. And it's like, we're out of rhythm. And I was saying to you earlier where, it's like I'm doing a half an hour calls with my sales team every single day. And I'm like, I am out of rhythm. Like I am out of rhythm of having these conversations because I haven't had them in so long because I've been so focused on other things where I'm like, it made me realize that like you can't expect to, even though you might know how to do something, it's still like, you get on a bike for the first time in 20 years, you might know how to ride the bike, but the bike still feels like, like you're like, I guarantee you if I got on a bike today, I would have a little bit of a wobble because I haven't done it in so many years, where I think that goes hand in hand with sales and lead generation, where people think that there's going to be this magic pill that they're going to take and all of a sudden they're going to have abs, when it's like, that's just not realistic in fitness and it's not realistic in business. So I really love that people showed up for themselves this week and that they just paid attention and they implement. That was probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, man. Like, business is, the concept is easy, right? Selling real estate, the concept is easy. Like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to let people in homes, I'm going to figure out what they want, I'm going to put an offer together. There's inspections, there's financing, there's, blah, 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 whatever other, contingencies are in the deal, except for the part, like, there's a big part that's missing for most agents. And one of those parts is that, we actually have to find the client. And right, I was talking, I had a personal client a few years ago, and, we were jamming on business and everything. And then she goes, "Hey, Vic, I need to go on hold for about 60-ish days, 45, 60 days, maybe 90 days. So, yeah, that's not a problem. But like, what's going on?" And she's like, "Well, I'm getting surgery." And I'm like, what kind of surgery? And she's doing a surgery where she was like she was overweight. She wasn't happy, a younger gal. And she was doing the surgery to, what is it, where they like staple the stomach or something?
Got it. Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, "Hey, before you do this surgery, like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to give you any medical advice, but like, do you mind if I give you maybe like a different perspective before you do the surgery that might help you build some proper habits and disciplines before you go cut your body up to try to do something?" Like, cause like your mom's overweight, your sister's overweight, your dad's overweight. It's not that you're big boned, it's you're in a bad environment, right? Like, you guys are successful, that's great, but you're not healthy, so you're not enjoying to the extent that you would like to, which is why you're going to cut your body out. And I said, there's like, like when we started working together, right? You were inconsistent with your prospecting. And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Then you got consistent with your prospecting. What happened?" She said, "My business grew." I said, "Well, right now, like, what's your personal regimen? Like, what's your personal care regimen?" She's like, "Oh, I get my nails, my hair." I said, "My massage." I said, "What's your personal care for your body? Not for what feels good and looks good, but your body." And she said, "Well, I don't really have one." I said, before we go out there and do a surgery, do we have the right habits in place so that when we get out of the surgery, we are in alignment with what's happening? Because if you just staple your stomach and think that's going to change your body, it's you're out of alignment and you're out of congruency with your identity, because your identity doesn't see you as somebody who's fit. Your identity is, I am lazy and I'm overweight. And because her identity was off, even though she got the surgery, guess what happened when she came out? She actually became bigger, because now she's healing and recovering. She didn't change her diet. She didn't change her habits, right? She didn't change her identity. And it's the same thing in business. If you don't change your identity, like you, to like a prospector, we talked about this. I remember I was standing out in front of the gym and I was like, "Hey, bro, don't get rid of all of your setters and don't get rid of all of your agency people yet, because you might have to bring them back on, because that offer could work for a year, but eventually everything runs its course." And you're like, "Yeah, you're right." And thank God you kept the identity of like, this is what we do. You had gotten out of it, and your top salespeople had got out of it, but you kept your setters, which, you knew identity wise, like, we are a sales organization that sells marketing services for real estate agents.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And like, wrapping up here, I think that the identity piece is so important. And I think that we chatted about that on the final day of like, we started with objections and then we went into this concept of like mindset of like, we end up projecting the way that we feel. And that can be and like, if you're struggling in your business right now, it's often a projection of how you're feeling. It's like, and we chatted about, I get it. It's hard. It's hard to feel abundant when you're not living in abundance. And it's like, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given is like, what are some things that you can do throughout your day that allow you to feel abundance, that allow you to feel into the future version of you? Everything starts with that feeling. Everything starts with that emotion. And we were chatting about that earlier about like raising your minimum standard. Like you get what you feel. Like, you know, if you feel it, like, and I in closing out here, like I said this to you last week, I'm like, we've had zero issue as an agency to hit 100K a month because I was attracting it. It was like, it's just like, it's attract. But we've been chasing to get to the 200,000. It's not attract energy. And it's like the attraction energy is the energy that will allow you to get to where you want to go. And I think we chatted a lot about that this week. If you're listening back to this podcast and you want access to it, to the 5-day challenge, just send either Vikram or I a DM with the word challenge and just let us know you came from the podcast, and we will get you free access because I'm going to charge for it. I'm going to run a funnel and I'm going to charge for it, but we're going to get you free access to the 5 days of training that Vikram and I did. And Vic, yeah,
will you load that funnel into my funnel in the Rapport account and press play?
Or press play.
Things that you
got you.
Yeah, you know those things.
Yeah, those things. Yeah,
yeah. Just
I'll do those things.
Always do really good.
I'll click those buttons and make sure you run the ads and create the videos.
Yeah, people and the places and exactly. But
I want to say thank you everyone for tuning into another episode of the Origin Podcast. We'll see you soon.